Hey guys, it's Filthydelphia. Today I'm going to be showing you the second scenario of my custom campaign, The Story of Exodus, set during the biblical Exodus. Now, last time we played the first scenario called Joseph and the Famine, and where we left off, the ancient Hebrews had settled in Egypt, but Pharaoh had become distrustful of them and decided to enslave them. Now, we're going to jump ahead in time many years. The Hebrews have been toiling in slavery, and we're going to go to the period when the famous prophet Moses was born. We're going to be playing the second scenario here called Moses, Prince of Egypt. Now, just like last time, I'm going to go through, I'm going to read the instructions and the history, but if you want to jump straight into the action, just skip ahead a couple minutes in the video. So we're going to start with the instructions here. This is the story of Moses and his time in Egypt and among the Midianites. This is a three-part story. It is recommended to refer to the scenario instruction screen as you complete each part of the story. During all chapters, Moses must not die. So this is basically three parts of the scenario. We're actually going to go ahead and read through the first two parts of the scenario to kind of like set the stage, and then we're going to come back to the third part when we reach that point in the scenario. So the first part here is called The Baby Among the Reeds. For decades, the Hebrew slaves toiled in service to the Pharaoh until the Egyptian king, fearing that the Hebrew multitude could rebel, ordered that all sons of slaves be thrown into the Nile. A Hebrew woman could not bear to follow the Pharaoh's decree and placed her son in a raft of reeds. She prayed that the Lord God would protect her child as it sailed downriver, where an Egyptian princess bathed. Objectives: bring the raft bearing baby Moses to the Egyptian princess, represented here by a villager. Find a way to convince her to take Moses as her son. Moses' mother may be helpful. And have the Egyptian princess bring Moses to the temple. So we're going to start off with a raft, and we have to try to convince the Egyptian princess to bring Moses to a temple. Now the next part is going to jump ahead many years later. It's called Moses in the Wilderness. This chapter begins when you take control of Moses, now an adult. Many years passed as Moses lived among the Pharaoh's grandchildren, but he could feel that he was different. One day, Moses witnessed an Egyptian slave master beating a Hebrew slave. Moses struck the Egyptian and killed him. With Pharaoh's guards approaching, Moses had to flee Egypt. Objectives: escape Egypt and reach the land of the Midianites, fight the Amalekites to bring Moses to the burning bush. Now there's actually a third part scenario called Return to Egypt. We'll get to that once we bring Moses to the famous burning bush. But that basically, we'll go through the first two parts of the scenario. And I'm going to read the history section really briefly. The Hebrew Bible tells the story of Moses, how he was rescued as a baby by an Egyptian princess, how he became aware of his Hebrew descent and killed an abusive slave master, how he went to the land of the Midianites and spoke to God through a burning bush, and how he returned to Egypt with his brother Aaron and led his people from bondage across the Red Sea to the Promised Land. Although scholars debate the historical veracity of this account, the story of Moses has rippled through history. Whether historical or legendary, Moses is revered today as a lawgiver and prophet to Jews, Christians, and Muslims alike. So we're going to go set it to hard. We're going to go check it out. So we begin here with baby Moses in this raft, and we're sailing down the Nile River. Now I know, obviously being the designer of the scenario, I know that right here, there's a blind lame priest. Now, blind lame priest is a unique feature of Age of Empires 1 Definitive Edition. He actually can't move whatsoever. But we can actually take advantage of some things. The fact that he can board that transport ship to bring him close to the villager that we have to convert, which is right here. This is the villager representing the Egyptian princess bathing. We can bring him right next to this villager, and even though he can't actually move himself, and he can't actually see the villager, he moved the raft away, you can't see where he is because he's blind, but because he's so close, he can convert the villager. So this is basically what we're showing here, is that he's convincing the Egyptian princess to join our side, take the baby Moses and bring him to the temple. Now, we're going to bring him to the temple, and at that point what's going to happen is we're going to then jump ahead in time, and Moses sees a slave being abused by an Egyptian slave master and fights back and decides to fight him and kill him. So here we have our hero Moses fighting the Egyptian slave master. And at this point now, he's committed a heinous crime. He's killed an Egyptian, so he's going to have to escape Egypt. Here we have an Egyptian town, and there's a bunch of different Egyptian army troops that we want to kind of use some stealth and kind of kill them, but we're going to have to move a lot because So we took him out pretty quickly. The hoplites have a ton of armor, a ton of hit points. So we're going to want to have to, we're taking a lot of hits here, but we're going to want to have to kind of lead him away and kind of pick him off by firing our arrows at him. Ooh, very, very close. Let me get some more distance here. We got him. Okay. Now one thing is, you can see this Egyptian town here. Now, there's another blind lane priest here, so I want to take advantage of this to heal. And again, blind lane priests, they can heal any units that come close to them. Actually, in the original Age of Empires, it'd be like practically on top of a blind lane priest from the heal. That's actually one thing that I personally had requested the team over at Forgotten Empires to make this change. So now they can actually have a little bit of healing range. You don't have to be right up on top of them. It helps a lot for scenarios where scenarios that feature them. So again, my goal here is to, oops, that's okay, you can heal. So we want to get Moses out of this town. He has to escape Egypt. He wants to go into what's today called the Sinai Peninsula and be able to join up with the Midianites and be safe from the Egyptians there. Now I want to be careful here because I don't want him to kill my, oh, he killed my priest. That's very unfortunate because now I won't have a way to kind of heal Moses. Just means I have to be more careful as I kill these short swordsmen and these hoplites. Okay, perfect. Still got 100 hit points. I think I saw a hoplite up here. Okay. So there's a hoplite here. I want to shoot him this way. Maximize the amount of time that he's under fire. I think I can probably get far enough that he's going to forget I know where I'm at. There we go. There's a little bit like Splinter Cell or Metal Gear Solid here a little bit. Kind of just trying to pick off guys, move away quickly. Obviously, short swordsmen are much faster, so they're kind of a more immediate threat. The hoplites, I can kind of walk circles around them here. Okay. Now, one thing about the scenario editor, I mentioned last time in the last video, as a custom campaign designer and a level designer, I really enjoyed some of the features we added in the editor here. Something like this you could not do in the original game. Just now we have like off-grid placement and stuff like that allows us to really kind of create some really unique combinations of buildings that can really make the game look a lot prettier. And you kind of see some of that in this scenario. Here's one more hoplite up here. Now, if anyone really knows the story of Moses here, or even watched the old Charlton Heston movie, The Ten Commandments, I took some liberties, obviously, with this story, just for the fact that this is a game. Obviously, the story goes Moses killed the slave master, but he didn't then go on some wild escape, killing a bunch of Egyptian troops. That's just a creation for this scenario, just to have something more fun to do. Just line up here. And you'll see that throughout the subsequent scenarios of this campaign. Just in the interest of making a fun kind of scenario, I took some liberties just with the story. Obviously, Age of Empires is a very violent game, and while the Old Testament does have quite a bit of violence, I think people kind of underestimate just how much violence is actually in the Old Testament, particularly with the story of Moses. But I had to kind of amp up some of the activity just for the nature of the game. So now we're crossing, we've left Egypt, and we're now in the Sinai deserts. Moses is in the wilderness here. And these are people called the Amalekites. Now, in the Hebrew Bible, the Amalekites are mentioned quite often. They're kind of like an opposition, like the main enemy, the nemesis of the ancient Hebrews early in their history. Later on, during the time of like King David, the Philistines would kind of have that role as like the enemy of the Hebrews. But at this point, when they're in slavery in Egypt, and then in the subsequent years when they are freed, the Amalekites are kind of like their fearsome enemy. Now, unfortunately, Moses is very weak right now. He only has 16 hit points. I'm actually kind of scared that I may not be able to complete the scenario on this first playthrough. In fact, just in case, I think I'm gonna save. And these are the Midianites. Take these guys out of here. Unfortunately, we get such target fixation on our villagers that they're able to kill these axemen and keep Moses alive here. So he keeps missing. There we go. Now, in the story of Moses, he basically had escaped from Egypt, and he actually found safety among a people called the Midianites in the Sinai Peninsula. Now, what actually happened was I believe what the story was, that he came across some daughters of a Midianite chieftain, and they were basically accosted by some random people. I want to say they were actually Amalekites, and so he saved them from these people, and the grateful father of the women took in Moses, and he spent some time there and actually married one of the daughters of the chieftain. And that's kind of what I tried to represent here in the scenario. You saw the Amalekites were attacking the villagers, and Moses came and saved them. Now, unfortunately, Moses here is very weak. He's only got 12 hit points left, so I'm actually kind of worried to actually do much with him. I want to be able to train some units quickly, so I can actually do some exploration here. Actually, there's enough resources I can actually put together. We'll do an archery range. And here we have kind of the oasis in the desert, lots of food, lots of trees, fish. I'm going to basically build up our forces here. Now, from the scenario instructions, it said that I have to take Moses to the burning bush. Now, I know as a designer of the scenario, the burning bush is all the way up here. There's a lot of Amalekites up here in these mountains of the Sinai that I have to get through first. So I want to train up some military units to prepare for that. There's some short swordsmen, guarding some bows. Down a ton of houses here. I don't have much gold. I have 500 gold, but I'm going to train some bowmen and kind of use them to attack the short swordsmen that are up there. I suppose I don't need these guys anymore. Just taking up population room. Need more wood. And just in case, I'm going to put Moses back here, kind of keep him safe. I'm going to use these archers to attack the short swordsman up here. Now, I mentioned in the history that there's some questions about whether Moses actually lived. This is kind of similar to what I talked about in the Joseph scenario. Again, I don't want to offend anybody who believes in the literal stories of the Bible. I'm just trying to point out that it's tough to find historical evidence in a lot of other sources for events that the Bible tells, especially this early in their history. When you get later in the Bible, talking about things like the Assyrians and the Babylonian captivity and stuff like that, those are corroborated in other sources like Assyrian sources, Babylonian sources, Egyptian sources. The challenge is that a lot of these early stories about Joseph and about Moses, you would think that these are pretty big events to happen, that the Egyptians would kind of talk about them in their writings, and you don't actually see that. Now, some historians believe that was because maybe the ancient Egyptians were embarrassed by the fact that they had this big slave population that basically revolted, that basically left Egypt. And so they didn't want to bring attention to that. And you do see that a bit in Egypt where pharaohs would kind of wash away the deeds of previous pharaohs, remove inscriptions and that kind of thing. And there's kind of historical revisionism that would happen. But I kind of find that hard to believe, especially since it's such a big population of people. Supposedly, there are hundreds of thousands of Hebrews in Egypt. That's what the Bible tells us. And to have that many people leave and then wander through the Sinai Desert, there would be more evidence, like archaeological evidence for that. So I'm kind of the camp that it probably didn't happen exactly how the Bible says, at least not at the scale that the Bible tells. But there's some evidence that maybe there was a Jewish population in Egypt. Maybe they came with the Hyksos, who had invaded Egypt during the Middle Kingdom periods. And maybe they were one of the Semitic peoples in Egypt at the time, similar to the Hyksos. And maybe a portion of them then left and settled in Levant, and then, merged with the existing kind of proto-Israelite culture there. I think that's kind of a fairly safe bet something similar like that would have happened. The interesting thing about Moses is he actually has an Egyptian name, which is something that kind of does make you wonder if there is maybe some truth to the story. Moses is not actually a Hebrew name originally. There were a lot of Egyptian kings, pharaohs, who had a name similar to Moses. It was Tutmosis and stuff like that. And it meant something like a servant of a god or something like that. And typically the names were like Tutmos was having to do with the Egyptian god Thoth, who was like the god of like wisdom. And so you kind of see a name like Moses. It doesn't have that kind of god prefix before it. So it's kind of interesting. It's a religious name, it's an Egyptian religious name, but without the god's name attached to it. And so you kind of wonder that maybe there is some truth to the story of Moses. They kind of, maybe was like an Egyptian priest or something. I know Sigmund Freud used to kind of theorize that was the case, and that he had no longer believed in the Egyptian gods, and so even his name, I'm getting overwhelmed here, so that even his name, represented the fact that he had to break from some Egyptian gods. Or maybe even later, maybe he was named like Tutmos, and the ancient Hebrews later removed that part of his name that referred to an ancient Egyptian god. I'm sure I'm probably saying something that's probably seen as very heretical or sacrilegious here, but it's just interesting theories on why this founding figure in the Jewish faith had an Egyptian name, an explicitly Egyptian name. So I was talking, kind of got distracted here, kind of got lost a bunch of these archers. I do have a fair amount of gold. I think I want to build an academy so I can train hoplites. That'll give me kind of strong, sturdy units. Actually, what else I want to do is I also want to... I actually can't build a temple. So I want to build up the forces here and start dealing with these Amalekites. Starting to run out of food. Oh, there's some food down here. Oops. Now, one thing about an oasis is there's not... Once you run out of resources here, there's nothing left. So, I'm hoping I can kind of start going up into these mountains of the Sinai, killing the enemy units there, and be in a position that I can start gathering resources from up there. I want to build some more houses. Now, if you play this scenario later, one thing to note is I set the population limit to 40, which is actually a very biblical number, the number 40. The intent was kind of to keep you from just concentrating on building a giant economy down here. And as you can see, there's limited resources, so I don't want you to end up having this 50 villager economy, and then there's no resources with which to which you can gather. So I want to just kind of concentrate on the most population efficient units, which is why I want to have some hoplites here because they're very sturdy units. I think we got enough. We can start moving out here. Get our revenge for these losses we suffered earlier. And this will give us access to gold mines here, so I can train more hoplites and whatnot.
Evil Toddy. Erectus. Thomas. Evil Toddy. I can. Evil Toddy. Rut I can. Abadak. Evil Toddy. Rut. I own it. I can. Evil Toddy. Erectus. Own it. Abadak. Own it. I Erectus. Own it.
Dead end.
Abadakis. Erectus. Own it.
Now, obviously, you can tell again, I'm taking some liberties with the original story. No, Moses did not in the story go build up a town and among the Midianites and then go invade the Amalekites and destroy them all. That did not happen. But he pretty much just would have just gone up to Mount Sinai and gone up to the burning bush. But obviously, this is a scenario that would be very boring if you just took Moses up to the burning bush. So I wanted to kind of add some, add some like game features here and have you have to fight the Amalekites. They're inhabiting these mountains here and you want to clear them out. Now I'm hesitant to bring Moses up here just because he has so few hit points. I want to clear out the area first, all the way to the burning bush, and then bring Moses. It's not ideal for hoplites. They move very slowly, so they can be picked off by archers. Fortunately, they're not retreating too much, so I can get up behind them and kill them. Now, while these guys are destroying the tower, I'm going to go ahead here. I'm going to train some more hoplites. And actually going to throw in some more bowmen, just have some ranged units. Just going to calm them out. So there's no more wood left, unfortunately. But there are forests up here, so now that we cleared this area, it's perfect. I can actually build up a storage pit and start collecting wood from up there. Okay. It's another tower. Ooh, I don't think he's going to survive this fight. Now, one thing about Age of Empires 1 compared to Age of Empires 2 is that the technologies, especially for units like with the equivalent of the blacksmith technology in Age of Empires 2, here the storage pit technologies, they actually have pretty big effects. I mean, +2 armor here in the Bronze Age for archers, that's a pretty big effect. So that's definitely something you want to do when you play Age of Empires 1 Definitive Edition, is you want to research the storage pit technologies as much as possible because they really give you an edge over unupgraded units. They have a pretty strong force here of hoplites and the bowmen. Just in case, I'm going to produce just some more so we can have some reinforcements later if these guys end up dying. Fortunately, I'm running low on food, so I may not be able to train many more units if I lose some of them here. Lots of big Amalekites. Now later on in the story of Exodus, the Hebrews actually escape Egypt and they'll be wandering through the Sinai Desert. And the Amalekites are one of the peoples that they would fight. They would have many battles against the Amalekites. And so I'm kind of jumping the story a bit here by having me fight them early. But again, that was just to add some kind of complexity to the scenario. Let's get up here. Take out this tower. Again, I'm just clearing the path so Moses can be able to come here later and reach the burning bush. And hopefully we'll be able to get a priest or something so we can heal Moses up. Let's see if anything's up here. They're already gonna sit there and die. Take a chance here. I'm gonna move Moses up closer. Got a lot of idle villagers. At this point, all I can really do is chop wood. No, don't go up the buildings. You have the units here. Yikes! There's still a lot of them. Okay. Well, build a military building closer. I mean, this is typically what you want to do in Age of Empires. So I'm going to have my slow-moving hoplites take forever to move up here. I'm going to build one up here. And that way I can train units closer to the actual battlefield I have up here. So we're going up the Sinai Mount, or Mount Sinai, clearing out the Amalekites. I'm trying to go reach the burning bush. And then wait. Some more gold here. Oh, quickly deforesting the mountain here. Getting a little impatient. I want to go ahead and start killing these units. So now with a catapult, I can actually start taking out these towers from a distance. It's like they're training units at the barracks. Carefully bring Moses closer. So again, we're in the second part of the scenario. Once we get Moses to the burning bush, at that point we'll be able to go ahead and read about the third part of the scenario, and then finish up the scenario. And there's the burning bush. So we're bring Moses to the burning bush. Okay, so we're going to head and read the next part of the scenario. So here we are, return to Egypt. This chapter begins when Moses reaches the burning bush and the temple. The Lord God spoke to Moses through a burning bush and instructed him to return to the land of Egypt to free God's people from bondage. Moses knew that the Pharaoh's heart was hard, But with the help of his brother Aaron, Moses knew he could defeat the Pharaoh's magicians and show the true power of God. Objectives: research monotheism, something that requires Iron Age. We obviously, being ancient Hebrews, we'd have to research monotheism. Train Aaron, represented by a priest, and then convert the Egyptian army temple and destroy the Egyptian army barracks in the Hebrew camp. We then have to convert all 5 Egyptian magi, represented by pharaohs, to show God's power. Okay, so we're still in the Bronze Age. We're going to have to upgrade to the Iron Age. The problem is we don't actually have much food here, so I'm going to have to get some farms going. Here's the temple. Since we have enough gold, I'm going to immediately train some priests so we can heal up Moses here. Bring Moses' brother Aaron in to help him out. What I probably should have been doing before is training or building a bunch of farms so we could actually keep producing food. Fortunately, that means we have to wait a bit because I'm going to have to reach the Iron Age to be able to research monotheism. So I'm going to train a ton of farms here. Okay. So the priests, we're going to heal Moses. And we're going to see probably maybe double our heat priest hit points, making priests move faster, make conversion and healing more effective. Because they see here, there's kind of a settlement here. The ancient Hebrews are enslaved by the Egyptians, and we're going to want to fight through this area, and then ultimately reach here. We're going to convert like some of these magi here, magicians of the Pharaoh's court, and kind of show them the power of the true gods over their Egyptian gods. Come on, build farms here. So I'm going to go ahead and build a market too. Research wheel and research plow. Oh, we don't have enough food for plow. The wheel will help the villagers move a lot faster so that we can actually accumulate this food we need for the Iron Age upgrade much sooner. So we have a bunch of priests here. So what we're going to do is I'm going to keep Moses in the back just to keep him safe. We're going to move these hoplites and the slingers up here. We're going to take a look at what we have to face here in the Hebrew camp. Oh, we don't want to get converted. Well, we want to probably convert some of these guys. Let's try to convert the chariot. We can't convert the priests. Let's move these priests back and try to kill the chariots this way. I hope they don't convert our hoplites. They convert our slingers, not a big deal, which they just did, but they didn't convert our hoplites. It's fortunate for us. So this is the temple that we're going to want to... Whoa. So this is the temple we're going to want to destroy, or convert, and this is the barracks, the Egyptian army barracks we want to destroy. So basically what we're doing here is we're kind of fomenting a rebellion here among the Hebrews by killing the Egyptian army troops that are watching over this Hebrew slave camp. We do not want to lose any more units here. Okay, we're actually able to upgrade to the Iron Age. So we're going to do that so we can grab monotheism. And I'm actually going to strengthen our forces here by training some more hoplites. I'm going to heal. Now, I didn't really approach this smart. I probably should have used my priest more to convert as much as possible, like this hoplite here. There we go. Have more hoplites coming. Got another unit here. Oh, he's under attack. We can probably lure the chariot archer closer, so maybe we can try to convert. No, maybe not. Very effective. We got a little army here.
Somos. Labadakis. Somos. Labadakis. Somos.
No. Pay more attention to these priests here. Obviously, chariots against hoplites is not. My fear is this guy's going to run around and pick us off slowly. That's not good. It's not good at all. Alright, we got some more hoplites coming. Keep my priest safe. I'm going to research monotheism. Oh, we need more gold. It's not good. There's more gold up there. Let's take these guys.
Ready, Mars. Bombis.
Erectus. I give erectus.
I say so.
Erectus.
Rather than going through this like corridor of death here when there's priest stuff, we're gonna just bust these walls here. Ooh. And they already converted one of these guys. Keep them alive, right? Come on, Moses. Ooh. I'll be kind of closer than I intended here. Looks like we actually cleared out most of the enemies here. No, we can't have Moses be converted. Not very effective. I think Moses can go toe to toe with this guy. Yep. Alright. So actually turn on the new automatic farm reseeding feature. You see how this, he ran out of his farm and immediately started building a new one. So that's a new feature we just added to the latest patch for Age of Empires Definitive Edition. Makes it a little bit more similar to Age of Empires 2. You don't have to worry so much about micromanaging and replacing your farms all the time. So it's a nice quality of life improvement feature that we added there. I want to actually bring this. We have to destroy this barracks up here, so I'm going to do this here. Now that I've actually, I'm going to research monotheism so we can convert this temple. And then we're going to go ahead and see if we can convert the Egyptian Magi down here in the Egyptian city. No more gold. Okay, we destroyed the barracks here. We're now going to convert the Egyptian army temple. I'm going to train some more priests. My goal here is to just get sufficient priests that I can convert some enemy units, maybe, and that way I don't have to deal with kind of build an army that way. We're now have gold here, so there's kind of limited to what I can do. Probably can train some slingers. I don't need as many people farming. I want to get some more stone so I can kind of train some slingers. Just got 4 priests here. And the problem is, unlike Age of Empires 2, where heroes in scenarios, custom campaigns, where heroes cannot be converted, in Age of Empires 1 they actually can be converted. So that's why I had to run earlier when I saw that priest down here, or over here. It's a major threat. Now, chariot, this is probably not smart to do. Chariot archers and chariots have a resistance bonus, a natural resistance bonus. So unfortunately, I am losing a lot of priests for nothing here. But I felt like kind of... Oh, that's not good. Well, I'll bring Moses back to the ways of Yahweh. Okay. Phew. Not the most successful attack here. Partially, I think, because I'm playing on hard. It's a little tougher here. I'm going to take Moses and take these slingers. I got to chase down this Egyptian priest. He's causing us a lot of problems here. Hopefully you can kill him without Moses being converted. Perfect. Okay, I'll take a bunch of slingers. I'm train some axemen at this point. Pretty much just have food and wood. I'm gonna bring these guys down here, kind of scout out what I have, what I'm facing here. There's an Egyptian city. There's a bunch of these pharaohs. They're really strong units here, and they're also protected by these chariots. So not ideal to have slingers go against chariots, but it looks like they're actually being pretty effective here. Kind of going to reach in here, trying to clear out as many of these chariots as I can, and then use my priests to convert these pharaohs. Fortunately, once I convert them, they'll be able to help me out in achieving my objectives. So they're trying to convert units here. I converted one. Ooh, I don't want to aggro too many units here. Come on. You gotta heal Moses. I don't want to risk Moses dying here. Perfect. Ooh, don't want to kill. There we got another one. There's some axemen. Might as well keep pumping out these guys. And use the visibility, the far range of these Egyptian priests. There's another one there that we can convert. So we're going to convert him. And what this is representing is, in the biblical story of Exodus, Moses and his brother Aaron went to the Pharaoh's court, and basically Moses demanded that the Pharaoh free the Hebrews from slavery. The Pharaoh obviously resisted, but Aaron and Moses decided to then show the power of their gods relative to the Egyptian gods. And in that, he had Aaron's staff be turned into a snake, and that was something that the that the Egyptian magicians were kind of shocked by, they were able to do the same thing. What ended up ultimately happening and what kind of converted the Egyptian prince to really believe that the Hebrew God had some power was that he then afflicted plagues upon the Egyptians. Things like turning the water to red and having a plague of locusts and then killing the Egyptian firstborns. That basically then caused the Egyptian pharaoh to get frustrated with Moses and Aaron and then allow the Hebrews to escape. So what this scenario is trying to represent is Aaron as a priest, overpowering the Egyptian magicians and showing the power of God. So there we are. We've actually converted everyone but this last pharaoh up here, and there's a chariot archer there. I only have Moses, but I think I can probably quickly, once these guys are have enough faith, I can go ahead and quickly try to convert them and then win this scenario. So yeah, they're going to be under attack, but I want to see if we can quickly... There we go. We're victorious. So God visited plagues upon the Egyptians, breaking the Pharaoh's hard heart. "Take all you have and be gone," he cried to Moses and Aaron. The multitude of Hebrews, now freed from bondage, gathered in Goshen and rose in a jubilant procession from the land of Egypt. The Pharaoh's heart became hard again, however, and he sent his army to pursue the Hebrews. With God's help, Moses divided the sea, allowing his people to escape from the Pharaoh's army and enter the Sinai. Moses, the once prince of Egypt, had restored to his people their faith and their freedom. So I'll go through this quickly just so you can kind of see, the different stats on this scenario. A very straightforward scenario, a three-parter. Ultimately here, Moses has successfully convinced the Pharaoh to allow his people to go. And when we pick up in the next scenario, they're about to cross the Red Sea when the Egyptian army comes. And then there's a famous sequence where Moses parts the Red Sea and allows his people to escape into the Sinai Peninsula. That's going to be coming up next in the next scenario here called Moses, Prophet of the Hebrews. Till next time, I hope you enjoyed this scenario. Again, you can download this custom campaign, The Story of Exodus, either at ageofempires.com or at aoe.heavengames.com. Thank you for watching and have a great day.